Well, hello everybody out there in YouTube. Let's see if this is actually working. Everything here says it is, but that doesn't necessarily signify. Everything said it was working the last time we tried this too, and apparently it was not. So, yeah. Hopefully it's working this time.
Is anybody else in here, or just me?
So far, it's just you. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're loud and clear.
Okay. Let me turn my camera off. So you can hear me, Gary. Good. Got Squib back.
Hi there.
Good, good, good. Maybe this is actually going to work for us. All right, good. Seems like it's working now. Outstanding. So for those of you that missed it, because of the technical difficulties, we were talking about how a unpublished CDC study was unearthed that supported Gary Kleck's numbers of 2.5 million defensive gun uses per year. However, Matt for 50 caliber Karma was pointing out that he's been trying all day to find some corroborating article on this, and the only source he's finding for who found this study was Kleck himself. So I guess that would be suspect.
Yeah, because that was the first.
Wants this to be true more than I do, but you know, whether we want it to be true or not is irrelevant when it comes to is it actually true.
I mean, yeah, it sounds great, but we don't need to fudge the numbers. The actual statistics by the CDC and the FBI that are publicly available are on our side. There's no reason to, exaggerate. That's what the other side does.
Exactly. We counter with facts.
All they have are their feelings, and they're scared and all that. We have, hey, this is the actual statistical stuff by real places. Unimpeachable sources.
I'm going to spend some more time over the next few days, particularly this weekend while I'm not at work, looking this stuff up to see if I can find where this claim came from, because I would like to get to the bottom of it if I can. Because if Kleck himself uncovered this, that just completely makes it suspect. I'm sorry. Look, I found this. Doesn't necessarily, and it supports everything I said. Yeah, I'm not saying the man's a liar. I'm just saying that I would like to have word that some third party discovered this and brought it to light. That would make me feel a lot better. So I just want to say thank you to everybody over there on the YouTube side who came back and stuck with us throughout the horrible technical difficulties. Obviously, this is working now, and that's awesome. I'm glad of that. I would hate to waste your precious time on a Friday night doing nothing.
Well, you can always give them their money back.
Yeah. I'll give you all a refund check. Yeah. See, right now it should be in your account. Yeah. All right. Well, then moving on to another topic. I know Gary says similar stuff has happened to him. Well, I'm sure that I'm not the first to have these kind of issues. I would be very surprised if I were.
I think you are the issue.
Well, that might be. There are a lot of people that say that.
Operator error.
Yeah. There are a lot of people that say that, and usually it's when I'm taking the handcuffs off of them. So, I tend to not be a popular guy when that happens. They're going to spend a lot of quality time with me. Anyway, I'm sure that most of you listening you guys are pretty dialed into what's going on with the Second Amendment community and keep up with the news of things that happen. So I'm sure you guys know who Kyle Kashuv is. If you do not, he is a young man who was also a student at Parkland. However, unlike his classmates who have succumbed to the temptation of being media darlings for the other side, Mr. Kashuv is, well, I guess he's fallen to the temptation of being a media darling for our side, as much media as we have. He is a more conservative leaning, more pro-gun leaning Parkland student who's been going to meet different politicians and whatnot to talk about other solutions that don't involve gun control. Midnight Rain says I should come to the PA rally Monday. Can't do it because I have to work Sunday night, and then I got to go pick up a new to me vehicle Monday. Otherwise, I would be glad to. Anyhow, this is a piece by A.W.R. Hawkins from Breitbart. Conservative Parkland student survivor questioned by school security after visiting gun range with father. Kashuv posted videos of his day at the range. One of the videos showed him shooting an AR-style rifle. He praised the Second Amendment and the instructor who guided him at the range. His social media posts made the rounds, and upon returning to school, he quickly realized that he'd drawn the ire of security personnel, including members of the Broward County Sheriff's Office. He told the Daily Wire that he was called out of class after the range visit and questioned by school security. Near the end of the third period, my teacher got a call from the office saying I need to go down and see a Mr. Greenleaf. I didn't know Mr. Greenleaf, but it turned out that he was an armed school resource officer. I went down and found him, and he escorted me to his office. Then a second security officer walked in and sat behind me. Both began questioning me intensely. First, they began berating my tweet, although neither of them had read it. Then they began aggressively asking questions about who I went to the range with, whose gun we used, about my father, etc. They were incredibly condescending and rude. Then a third officer from Broward County Sheriff's Office walked in and began asking me the same questions again. At that point, I asked whether I could record the interview. They said no. I asked if I'd done anything wrong. Again, they answered no. I asked why I was there. One said, "Don't get snappy with me. Do you not remember what happened here a few months ago?" They continued to question me aggressively, though they could cite nothing I had done wrong. They kept calling me the pro-Second Amendment kid. Yeah, but boy, what a horrible thing. I was shocked and honestly scared. It definitely felt like they were attempting to intimidate me. You'd think? I was treated like a criminal for no reason other than having gone to the gun range and posted on social media about it. On April 20th, Kashuv countered the anti-gun school walkout with a pro-gun event focused on solutions to school security that do not infringe on the Second Amendment. He appeared as a guest on Breitbart News Bullets with A.W.R. Hawkins, discussing his conviction that Republican lawmakers must quit playing defense and grow the Second Amendment. I have to agree with that, and I have a suspicion that the young man is absolutely correct. I think he's probably being harassed because of his views and because he has been outspoken in criticizing the Broward County Sheriff and his department for their policies and actions and lack thereof at the Parkland incident. It's part and parcel of how the left, the left, how the anti-gun left does business. They'll do everything they can to silence anyone that doesn't agree with them, and this is just a case of it happening again. Panel, any of you guys have any thoughts on this?
It sucks.
My question is what led up to the need to actually go and talk to this kid? Was it somebody reporting him? Because
I can elaborate on that a little bit, and that's only because my son got suspended for 10 days for getting in a fight in the hallway, and the suspension was almost extended because of social media. In his case, some of the other students got a hold of him on Snapchat and said the other kid is saying he wants a rematch. So then my son, who was upset, got on Snapchat and said, "Are you ready for a rematch?" These kids ran to the school officials, the principal's office, that sort of thing, and go, look what he's posting. And they contacted us and the other kid's parent and said, you know, do you want your son to be on suspension even longer? All that happened were kids were making trouble. They were trying to antagonize these two into fighting for their own entertainment, and then they went and tattled on them to the teacher, even though they instigated the Snapchat stuff back and forth. I'll bet you the same sort of thing happened. He's got friends that know he's into guns and probably don't have a problem with it, but they're friends with other people who he's not friends with. And somehow or another, they saw it on one of these social media things like Facebook or Snapchat or something like that. And somebody decided they were going to be a tattletale and a social justice warrior, and they were going to run to the principal and say, look, because of their leanings towards this is violent, this is evil, this is, without, you know, the ignorant side of it that doesn't understand that he was not breaking the law and that sort of thing. Also, it's just to instigate a fight or to take the attention off of them. Maybe that kid's not doing well in school, and now he can kiss up to the principal by going, look, I stopped the next shooting, or whatever it is. Now, I'm simply theorizing on this, but I'm basing this off of what happened recently. When I went to school 100 years ago, we didn't have this social media crap. And nowadays, I think it's an invasion of privacy when you go, like, if your employer wants to look on your Facebook, they can, and they can fire you if there's a picture of you doing something that they don't like on Facebook, even though you're doing it on your time and you're not wearing a company logo shirt or anything else like that. Well, the schools have the same sort of, the schools can do the same sort of thing. They can see what your kids are doing on their own personal time, even if it's with their family, even if it's totally legal, and they can decide to act upon it. And it's not necessarily that they've got somebody in a room at the school watching everybody's Snapchat and Facebook. It's simply a matter of some student reports it, and that's all it takes. And these guys, it's interesting how they've got 2 armed resource officers there to grill this kid, you know, after this thing happens. But before then, they didn't have none of this. Or the fact that the guy who was the criminal was putting stuff out there that it was, and students were reporting, we think he's going to do something, and they didn't do anything. But this kid didn't break any laws. And believe me, as a parent, it irritates the crap out of me. I obviously want my kids to go to a safe school, and I don't want them to ignore threats on the internet or something like that. This was not a threat on the internet. And I realize they're taking it to the nth degree, and it might be because they're anti-gun, or it might be just because their lawyers are telling them, you've got to go after everything. But based on my experience, I think that the schools are not handling it well. They're handling it like a bunch of lawyers. They're not handling it like parents. And we're not all lawyers. We're parents. We have kids that go there. I want my kids to be safe. They want their kids to be safe. And they grilled this kid because of their agenda, and probably because they're being pushed by the same idiots in the administration who let this other one slip through the cracks. And when there was all the warning signs way in advance. So they've slaved over to the other side of the spectrum, and now they're exaggerating it, and it's not fair to this kid. It's not fair to anybody's kid. And just the fact that our employers or schools or anybody can go onto social media and look at our personal lives and then judge us outside of our personal lives because of it, that isn't right. But I don't know what we could do about it in this world.
Well, I think there should be some repercussion for this. It was talked about in another chat. I forget whose it was, but the parents of this kid, they should have legal grounds to sue the school district, because it wasn't a threatening photo. He was there being supervised, and they pretty much violated his constitutional rights. So
I agree with you. I agree with you, but I will tell you this. When our son got in the fight, the other kid came at him in the hallway, swung at him. Our son ducked it, and then he swung back and laid the kid out. They were both suspended for 10 days. We went in there and argued, saying, this other kid attacked our son. He was just defending himself. Well, our policy is this. Both of them get it, period. But he didn't do anything wrong. He defended himself. Well, your son's not making our school a safe environment by doing that. It's like, you're not making the school a safe environment by not protecting our son. And we considered suing and doing all this other stuff. Or we could just let the 10-day suspension go, get him back into school, get him back up to speed, and just let it go. If his parents let it go, it might just simply be because the school year is coming to an end and they just want to get him through the school year. And you got to understand, as a parent, do you want to, it's a tough call, because if they teach him to sue for his rights, they're doing the right thing. If they teach him to just be pragmatic about it, deal with it and move on, they're teaching him the right thing. Either thing is the right thing. But if they don't sue, just understand that it's near the end of the school year. Let's just put it behind us. So they might do that.
Just sweeping it under the rug isn't going to help the cause in this situation. My son's been in countless situations because of his disease and being called short and being picked on. And I actually went into the school and I pretty much gave the teacher and the principal a big spiel. And I walked out of the room. And then I told the kid's parents that next time your kid touches my kid, we're going to sue you, because, you know, the kid admitted that he was picking on my son and he kicked him in the face. But, I mean, the problem here is that when we let these things go, then they continuously happen. Recourse needs to be shown and punishment needs to be given. You know, that's how it is in my school, Squib. I mean, you know, if the kids get in the fight, they both get it. I mean, that's just, I pretty much think that might be the case for a lot of schools. I'm not a teacher and I don't like really know the policies as much, but from what was strewn to me in that same situation with my kid, you know, I told him, I'm like, look, I'm gonna have your kid handcuffed and hauled out of here because he was the aggressor. And, you know, that this is when schooling stops, and it has to become an educational tool to show these younger kids that are walking out of class that are protesting that might all be fine and dandy. But when it comes to constitutional rights and being violated, there has to be a standard set, and it has to be followed through with. I understand it's the end of the school year, but yet if we continue to let these things mount and be swept under the rug, those kids that are doing the corrupt acts, they're gonna continue to do it until they are punished for it. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Roll call. There's nothing you said that is wrong. Everything you're saying is right, and the problem is it's the cost of the lawyer. It's taking time off work to go to court, taking time off work to meet with the lawyers, the school stalling and trying to do things to like kiss up to go, can't we just make this better? Blah, 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 blah. That's why I'm saying if they go the pragmatic route, just understand that it might just be that it's just easier to deal with. If they have other kids, if they don't have the money, they don't have the time, it's not that they don't love the Second Amendment or they're not trying to teach their kid to stand up for himself. They're not trying to do the right thing. Sometimes though, when you got to deal with life and something like this, I'm not saying this is what they should do. I'm saying whether they let it go or whether they fight it tooth and nail for 10 years, I think both things have equal, you know, they're equally correct. Only based on the fact that not everybody has the time and money to get a lawyer and to go do the right thing. Now, if you threaten the school with a lawsuit, the school don't give a crap. Because it don't come out of the principal's paycheck. It don't come out of the superintendent's paycheck. It comes out of the school budget or the state budget. They don't care. So when you said you're going to sue the other parents, I think you did the right thing there by saying that instead of saying I'll sue the school district. Because school district go ahead, we don't care. But you go after them the other. But I got to tell you, I don't know. It would really depend on what judge you got, how good of a lawyer you got. You could get a lawyer that's got a real low retainer fee and they're a half-ass lawyer. And then you go, oh man. You know, so there's just a whole lot involved. It would be nice if our legal system actually let us do the right thing for free and did it in an expedient fashion, but that's just not the way it works in real life.
Yeah,
One
no,
thing that I find,
for decades.
one thing that I find may have a bearing on this point is, unlike the kids in New Jersey who got suspended for posting about a range trip with their families, Kyle has a pulpit. You know, he does have a certain amount of media attention here. Obviously, I mean, we're talking about this. This has been covered on the news and through other news outlets. So, you know, it may have a little bit more traction than if, you know, average Joe Blow Jr. got this same thing happen to him. So it'll be interesting to see what tack his parents decide to take with this. They could very well just say, you know what, let's just get this done and over with. I don't even want to mess with it. They didn't do anything, no harm, no foul, other than the harassment and aggravation. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do. Maybe it's what I do for a living, I don't know, but I tend to be cynical about it. And I don't necessarily think that it's simply a response to recent events at their school. It could be that could have a lot of that could have an influence on it, but I think it's more recent events at the school allow certain natural inclinations based upon their political ideologies to be expressed. I think it's an excuse.
I think we should have the right to post on social media when we have family time at the range, or
Sure.
if we had a good range day that day,
Absolutely
or if
right.
we're breaking in the new rifle or new pistol, or you know, we've restored an old gun and we're taking it out
Yep.
there, or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
But I've told my son who's in high school, don't ever put, and this is before he got in that fist fight or anything, don't ever put anything on Facebook or anything else. Twitter, I don't care what it is, because he's got that phone and he's always on it and doing stuff. And when my younger one gets his phone and he's going to have the same rules. Don't post a picture of you holding a gun. Don't talk about the Sunday when we went to the range. Don't talk about what you got for Christmas. Don't say anything that has to do with firearms, period. Wait till you're an adult, and then worst case, you might get fired from your job for it, but that's a whole different thing. This is your education we're talking about. These people hate us because they don't understand us and they don't believe in the same freedoms we do. And as you get to be older, you'll develop a sense of your own values and make your own decisions. But, you know, my oldest son, he loves guns, and it's a family thing that we do together, and he's very responsible and all of that. But I've told him more than once about this. Don't ever post anything. Don't even use the word gun on social media, period. Because I was concerned something like what happened here in Florida might happen to him. And
Well,
I know that sucks, because you're trying to teach your kid to restrict their First Amendment rights, right? And that ain't what we do. That ain't what we do in our community. Well, it's sad,
but you have to consider what possible harm someone could do to you via anything that you post. I mean, you have to try and figure out before you post something how someone could use it against you.
Well, he was the one who, in civics class, the teacher and all the students in the class, they're having a discussion about the Second Amendment, and the teacher and all the students in the class were anti-gun, anti-gun, anti-gun. He was the only one who stood up for the Second Amendment. So they started teasing him, and they started calling him school shooter. That was his nickname, school shooter.
Oh, no.
When I talked to him, I said, son, you know that in that safe that you don't have the combination to, you've got the means to do the evil things that they're accusing you of because you stood up for your rights. But out of everybody who goes to that school, you would be the last one to do it, even though 20 feet away, locked up, you've got the tool to do it. And you have the skill to do it. Don't let what they say get to you. Don't ever give anybody a reason to suspect you're the bad guy. You're with the good guys. And you know, he kind of like, it's fine, it's okay. They were just teasing me. It's no big deal. You know, he handled it really well, but I could tell it was bothering him because he stood up for his rights and he didn't start a fight. He didn't argue. He didn't. When it comes to guns, that kid is so responsible. I'm so proud of him when he's around guns. The rest of the time, he's like your average teenager. I don't know what it is about firearms. Maybe, I don't know, but you put a gun in his hand, he's like, yes, sir, no, sir, and please and thank you. It's really weird. And he's got a big smile the whole time, too. And he don't have his face in that damn phone. But even though there was a negative thing that happened to him in class, he's not the one who would endanger his school. He's not and I know that. And yeah, I taught him right when it comes to that, as far as safety and our freedoms and right from wrong and murder is wrong, you know, and that I don't understand why other parents don't do that.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, I run into a lot of, you know, again, particularly with where I work, I run into a lot of cases where I'm wondering what the hell parents are thinking or not thinking when they teach, or in most cases don't teach their kids, because you know, I see a lot of parenting fails, and I've given up a long time ago trying to figure it out, because I'll just do nothing but turn in circles. That's unfortunately, it's how it is. Looks like I see somebody new out in the chat. Leroy Thurman. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad to see that you felt you wanted to join us tonight and be part of our conversation. If there's anything you want to chip in, please feel free. I'm sure that somebody out in the chat will talk with you about it. And if I happen to see it, I'll make sure that I say hello too. Okay, next topic I want to talk about. This comes from Megan Matthews from 10 TV WBNS in Columbus, Ohio. Pro-gun rights group could file lawsuit against Columbus as city leaders talk gun control. Talk over gun control in Columbus could trigger a big debate Thursday night in City Hall. This is April 26th. So they're talking about last night. Council members will hear proposals to change firearms laws while neighbors will get their say about it. Several ordinances will be laid out for discussion that include banning bump stocks and gun sales in neighborhoods. Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther announced last month the city would be working on, quote, common sense, unquote, gun laws. Those who oppose the idea say they might sue the city. We are prepared to launch a lawsuit if we determine that any of the proposals violate state law, Buckeye Firearms Association Executive Director Dean Reich said. Dean Reich says the Buckeye Firearms Association will be tracking what happens during Thursday's public hearing on gun control and what happens after. I really don't think most of these are going to keep people safe. We already have plenty of laws on the book, Reich said. City leaders announced in March they would work on common sense gun laws for Columbus. 11 changes are being proposed that are broken down into 4 different ordinances. We're really looking to find where those gaps are between federal and state law, where the city can have that role, Columbus City Council member Michael Stinziano said. Some of the proposals include banning bump stocks and firearms accessories, prohibiting the sale of imitation guns to minors, better protecting domestic violence victims, banning gun sales in neighborhoods, and much more. We've heard from residents all over the city that they want to see more done, and if they don't see it at different levels, they're coming to their council. The talk about change comes after a record year for homicides in Columbus, the Las Vegas concert shooting, and the Parkland school shooting. The goal is that we're going to have safer neighborhoods, Stinziano said. Not everyone agrees with the proposed ideas for gun control. Some of those proposals may violate state law, Reich said. But any resident has the opportunity to voice an opinion for or against, because it's all still up for debate in Columbus. The public hearing will be held in council chambers Thursday at 5 p.m. City Council will likely vote on proposals in the coming months. Well, the City Council of Columbus needs to be extremely careful. Otherwise, they're going to be going down the same road that Cleveland went, and they're going to be writing some big fat checks to the Buckeye Firearms Association to cover their legal and other associated costs related with this lawsuit, because Ohio has preemption laws that are very strong. If you can't, a local government cannot pass any ordinance that would do anything that is stricter than the state law. So I think they should probably tread carefully here because the Buckeye Firearms Association has a very good track record of smacking Cleveland upside the face with the law when they try to violate it. So
what's the whole gun sales in neighborhoods thing? What does that even mean?
I don't know. I mean, well, sounds to me like it's a private sale, private transaction ban. That's what it sounds like. I could be wrong. I don't live in Columbus, and I haven't really been following this story much.
Okay, because I picture you going out in your front yard with a bunch of folding card tables and putting some cloths on them, and then getting a big, I don't know, like a 4x8 piece of plywood and spray painting a sign, guns, like with an arrow, right? And just laying out these guns and just sitting out there like it's a lemonade stand, right?
Yeah,
that's
what
let the cars drive by and people just stop and, you know, randomly buy guns from you or something.
Cooler full of Glocks or something, you know?
Why do you put them in a cooler?
Would it be a Yeti cooler? Would it?
Not anymore. It wouldn't be a Yeti cooler.
Igloo, sucker.
Now hold on. Those are Marion Hammer approved.
So, hey, I got a little bit of breaking news that leads into the last story we were just talking about with school shootings and stuff like that.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you guys follow Atlas News at all on Instagram or anything like that?
No.
So Atlas News, at least seven children were stabbed to death and 12 more were injured after a 28-year-old former student went on a stabbing rampage near a middle school in Shanghai, China, or I guess that's how you say it. The suspect was arrested. Authorities has been identified as Zhao, according to the whatever Chinese name news that is. BBC Stephen McDonald reported that the suspect was bullied when he attended the school over 14 years ago.
So let's go back and stab up some kids who have nothing to do with it.
14 years ago, and he's just now getting around to this.
I guess.
I've heard about procrastination, but damn.
Yeah, committing this crime is stupid to begin with, but this just makes it double stupid.
It kind of reminds me. It kind of reminds me of that Billy Madison movie where he had that that sniper kid that he bullied. He turned out to be like a. He was like marking people off of his list.
Yes.
Putting lipstick on. You remember what I'm talking about? Kind of who it reminded me of. It's like years and years later, he's kind of like, all right.
Yeah, so do you think in China they're going to ban knives like they're trying to do in, is it all of Great Britain or is it just in London that they're trying to ban the knives?
I think it's everywhere.
I'm not sure. I know London for sure. I would suspect that it would go that direction in the rest of Great Britain as well.
So if they do in China, if they do ban knives because they want to take it to the nth degree like everybody else, they need to roll it back a little bit and maybe think about what they do with their tanks there.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I don't care what happens to China. I mean, China's China. I mean, we owe them millions of dollars, and if that place started to implode, I wouldn't be upset. Put it that way.
Yeah. Do you guys have Instagram at all, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, follow Atlas News. Those guys usually have the latest and greatest when it comes to stuff like that.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Atlas News.
Mm-hmm.
And that just proves that it doesn't matter what you ban. Evil is going to always find a way to be evil. It's just that plain and simple. Banning things do not work, and that's one of the things that I try and tell the leftist people or the gun grabbers, and you talk to them, and I just don't think they understand what it's about. I mean,
look at Canada.
Prohibition, yeah.
Seriously. Take anything you want. If a man is determined enough, he's going to do it. You want to say, yep. Even as far as waiting periods go, we have all these waiting periods when you buy a firearm. I think in a person's eyes or mind, if they have their mind made up that they want to actually murder somebody, it don't matter if they have a waiting period or what's called a quote unquote cool down period. They've already made up their mind. As soon as they come up with a way to do it, that's when they'll do it.
Yep.
Tony York brought up a good point regarding the waiting period. He said, in Illinois, you got the FOID card, so they know that you've bought guns, blah, 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 blah. If they were going to have a waiting period that made sense, if you even want to call it that, there's a waiting period on your first gun purchase. But when you've already got 30 guns, what's the point in having a waiting period? The waiting period is so you don't buy the gun and go commit a crime. You have time to think about it. If you guys already know that I have 30 guns at home, why should I have to wait?
See,
those aren't good enough.
When you have a FOID card, your background is actually getting checked every single day. So, there's obviously a check that says, hey, he's cool, let him go. But
there's still a waiting period, though. It's kind of after the first one, it serves no purpose.
Here's the prime example of a waiting period. I traded a guy. I had an AR-15. It was a low budget AR-15. I wanted a Glock 26, little carry piece, and I traded this guy my AR-15, low budget AR-15, for his Glock. We went to a pawn shop, sent them or gave them both, the guns for a legal transfer at that time, and he got to walk out the next day with the AR-15, and I had to wait because I gave him an AR-15 for a Glock pistol. I had to wait 48 hours to be able to get my Glock pistol when I had an AR-15 in my hands.
That's asinine.
Yeah, I know. It makes no sense at all. See, and here's the deal with Illinois. See, there's a what's that called? It's consequence and risk. Or no, it's risk and consequence or something like that. Basically, in the state of Illinois, it's better for a criminal to not follow the rules because the consequences aren't that bad. See, like, okay, all the gun owners have to follow all these rules and everything like that. There's no risk for a criminal to have to do what he does for a living. Like, there's no risk at all. It's easier for a criminal to get around and do what he does in the state of Illinois than it is for a gun owner to have to follow all these rules.
Yeah.
It's risk and reward is what it is. That's what it is. It's more rewarding for a criminal to be a criminal in the state of Illinois than it is to risk busting into a house. And because we do have the castle law here, but it's in the way it's interpreted in the court of law that the state of Illinois fails, because they will come up with any reason to make you look like the bad guy. Whereas the criminal will get shot, but if he lives, you're screwed. Like, it's real bad. Well, I guess it depends on the lawyer too.
I can tell you, having gone through a couple divorces, make sure you spend a good amount of money on a lawyer. Do not get the cheap lawyer because he will screw up. Just saying.
See, here in the state of Indiana, they've had legislation down there where as long as you have a conceal and carry permit, then you no longer have to fill out a 4473. And I think
I would be very, very cautious on saying that a 4473 is a federal requirement. What you might be talking about is something that Ohio has a similar, is that if you have a concealed carry permit issued after March 2015, then you do not have to undergo a NICS check. You still have to fill out the federally mandated 4473 paperwork, but you don't have to have the background check. Your permit is your background check.
The 4473 is a federal form that the FFL has to keep on file for 20 years. And
then send to the ATF.
Yeah, and the NICS is a whole separate
I stand corrected, damn it. I'm trying to do stuff.
We're not trying to tear you up, but we may actually have somebody who doesn't know anything about guns listening, and they're learning something from us, of all people. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, God.
I want to make sure we put out accurate information if possible.
Or a disclaimer, one of the two.
Yeah.
Don't listen to roll call.
I am not a lawyer.
The views and opinions of the hosts of the show do not necessarily reflect that of Budget Guns and Gear Incorporated.
Absolutely right. Nor reality.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at. It served that kind of purpose, It wouldn't you wouldn't have to go through so much of the hassle that you have to do every time.
And that's really what it comes down to. It's a hassle. There are some stuff that it's really, I mean, especially like if you're driving 3 hours to get to something and then you got to turn around and drive back and then you got to come back in a couple days or because it's a good deal or it's a rare find and you really want to get it and whatever it is. And of course, people who aren't gun people don't understand it. So they go, oh, you're just trying to circumvent the law. It's like, I tell you what, this is what, when you go to buy your car, this is what I want you to do. They'd be like, oh, I'm not doing all that.
The problem is we're not trying to circumvent the law. It's the law is trying to circumvent the Constitution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
That's the problem. It's
agree.
nothing but harassment, frankly. It's nothing other than meant to be a stumbling block for us, something to discourage us from anything that they can do to make it more difficult, to make it more inconvenient. They're going to do, because it makes someone less likely, even if it's only an infinitesimal small bit less likely, still going to make it less likely for someone to buy a gun. And ultimately, that's what they want. They don't want you to buy them.
I don't know if it's that so much that they don't want you to buy the gun, or it's that they think if they make it more difficult that they'll keep criminals from buying them and only have the law-abiding people. And we all know that the criminals buy stolen guns, or they just plain steal them.
Yeah, they'll back a truck through the wall of the gun shop and then take everything they want.
Well, yeah, that's been done. They tried doing that in my township, and what they did was they rebuilt the store with a much more armored storefront. But yeah, I don't think people, or even our politicians or lawmakers, seem to understand that sort of thing. Is that criminals don't go to the measures we go to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's when we purchase our firearms. And the other thing is, every now and then somebody who legally bought a firearm, has a right to have it, etc., snaps. They flip. And like the Las Vegas guy, right? Everything he bought legally before he ever committed one crime. And then he snapped. And they're going to hold that against us. You can't predict somebody who flips from being a good guy. They could be a good guy for 20 years and then one day just snap. But then you've got the people that they were bad guys when they were juveniles. They're bad guys when they become an adult. They're never going to stop being bad guys. Those are the people that I think that they think are going to sit and go, oh, I can't do that because there's a law. They don't care.
Well, the last story I talked about was out of Columbus with their city council up to some shenanigans. But they're not the only city council who is up to shenanigans. Boulder, Colorado city council is apparently trying to be really up to some shenanigans. Boulder councilman withdraws proposal to refer assault weapons ban to voters. Now, you hear that headline and you think, wow, they don't want to do an assault weapons ban. No, it's not quite what they mean. This is by Alex Burness out of the Daily Camera, a newspaper in Boulder. Boulder City Councilman Sam Weaver speaks during council's annual retreat at the Boulder Museum of Contemporary Art in January. Let's see. Weaver had proposed that the assault weapon ban currently under consideration by the council be referred instead to voters this fall. But now he's dropping that push. He says he's no longer in favor of referring the proposed ban on assault weapons to voters, with the council set to deliberate May 1st on the proposal, which would also ban bump stocks and magazines with 10-round capacities. Weaver said earlier this month that he'd be seeking support from his council colleagues for a change of course. Rather than approving the proposal at the council level, the city's elected leaders should let Boulder voters decide in November, Weaver argued. It's the most democratic way, he said on April 13th. However, on Saturday, he stopped by a rally in downtown Boulder where protesters were decrying the council's proposed ban. Some in attendance openly displayed rifles slung over their shoulders and across their backs in violation of city open carry laws. I think people in the Boulder community are pretty disturbed by the violation of our firearm carry laws, and I was personally a little bit disturbed that people came into our community and broke our laws and seemed to be intentional in that, Weaver said Monday. That's made me think we need to take action sooner than later on assault weapons. Jason Boros, an organizer of the event, has said that he doesn't believe that those who broke the law on Saturday did so knowingly, and that the Boulder Police Department gave protesters mixed messages about what is and is not allowed under city law. Weaver called the display a disgraceful action to our community. It is not clear that there was ever going to be support from a council majority for a November ballot measure as opposed to a council vote this spring. But Weaver has assured his council colleagues via email that he'll no longer be advocating for a vote to the public. So basically what this sounds like, to me, what I'm taking from this, is that Weaver wanted to throw this before the voters and have the voters vote on it. Then he went to a rally that showed how many people were against the issue and got scared that it wouldn't pass. So he decided, nope, we're not going to let the voters do it. They might vote wrong. Let's us city council do it instead. That's your government in action, Boulder. You get what you vote for, fellas.
You know what I was thinking? Weren't Mork and Mindy in Boulder?
I don't
Remember
know
that
if they were in
show?
Boulder or not. I think they might have been.
Wouldn't that in the intro to the show, Boulder City Limits?
I think you might be right.
Okay, well, other than Nanu. Other than people from Orc, yeah, they did this in Michigan with a gas tax. They put it on the ballot. It got shot down. So over the summer, they just voted it in through the back door, and we ended up stuck with the tax. I'd be really worried if I was living in Boulder.
I'd be doing everything I can to get these tyrants voted out that were me. Thankfully, where I live, they're not that bad. Our village council tends to listen to us.
I'm sure it's like anything else. Once it's in place, it's going to be hard to reverse it. So let's say they get rid of them and the new guy comes in. How hard is it to undo the damage?
See, I don't know. I don't know if Colorado has preemption laws. I would guess not, but I don't know for sure. That's kind of the contrast between Colorado, the situation in Boulder and the situation here in Ohio and Columbus, because Ohio absolutely has very strong preemption laws with teeth. If they pass a law that is not allowable by our preemption statutes, they have to pay for the legal fees of the people who sued them to get it removed. So, I don't know whether Colorado does this or not. I would think not, but hopefully they do, and somebody can fight this.
Yeah, but if they sue them, it's not going to be the lawmakers paying out of their own bank account.
No, and that is the problem. Yeah,
that is a big problem.
That is a problem. I think that when an elected official does something that they know is contrary to the law and they do it anyway, I think they should also personally be held responsible for it. But that's real common sense, and that's almost a superpower these days, unfortunately. All right, so we've had all the negativity that I can stand today. We're going to go ahead and close this out, as we usually do, with something positive, a self-defense shout-out. This is out of Greenville, South Carolina. Again, piece from Breitbart, A.W.R. Hawkins. Resident smells home invasion suspect's cologne, shoots him dead. A Greenville, South Carolina resident smelled a home invasion suspect's cologne, followed the smell to a closet, and shot the suspect dead. The incident occurred around 8:25 a.m. Friday morning. This is 21st April 2018. Greenville News reports that the woman took her children to school, returned to her residence, and sensed that someone was in her apartment. There was an, quote, unusual smell and odor, cologne or whatever, unquote. The woman's uncle, Douglas Sweeney, said his niece began going room to room in the apartment, then opened a closet door, and there he was. The woman shot the intrusion suspect on the spot. Responding officers discovered the suspect's body in the closet of the master bedroom. The suspect was identified as 34-year-old Quentin Ramon Oliver, and his cause of death was listed as gunshot wound to the chest. I would say that he died from excessive stupidity.
I always love their little weasel words in there. The suspected intruder, the suspected intruder that she found in her closet. They suspect he might have intruded into her closet, but they're not sure.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like last week, the alleged.
The alleged suspect in her house that didn't belong there, but he's only a suspect. We think he might have broken in and intruded, or she might have invited him. I don't know.
He lost his keys in his apartment.
Yeah, no kidding.
You must have been weird.
Well, it's just like I suppose if you break into a house and you get arrested and you go to court and they find you not guilty, they're going to say, well, you did break into the house, but you're not guilty of breaking and entering. So you're no longer a suspect. We know you did it, but you're not guilty of it. I mean, what?
Leroy says it could be copper poisoning. Yeah, I think he died of acute copper poisoning.
He must have been wearing preferred Glock. Damn, girl, you smell good. What you wearing? Speed stick?
For those of you who may be new to the channel, I just want to explain here. When I do this self-defense shout-outs, I am not celebrating the death of the bad guy. You know, I don't. I was about to say something stupid and say that I mourn the loss of any human life, but no, I don't. Some people need killing. But what I am instead celebrating here is the continued life and ability to live it exhibited by the true victim of the crime, the person who had to defend themselves. I'm celebrating the fact that they're alive to continue with and go about their lawful activities, and I'm celebrating the fact that they had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves. It just so happens that if the bad guy's dead, well, the bad guy's dead. That's, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So I'm going to go ahead and end this out. We'll go through the chat. Matt, do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say?
Maria's Taqueria on Thornton in Stockton, California is my very favorite place to get tacos.
There you have it. If you're ever in Stockton, stop by Maria's Taqueria. Roll call. Anything you want to plug, sir?
Yeah, I got a little chat going on Sunday nights on the late night. So if you're up and about, it's called Rants and Rave. And my other host is Night Strike 1. He is a member of gunchannels.com. It is free to sign up. I encourage you to go check out gunchannels.com. Go check out my channel at Roll Call 219 on YouTube. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Roll Call 219. And if you want any other plugs or anything, just email me and I can hook you up with where to find my content. And all complaints go to shootingleftofcenter@gmail.com.
Ryan, anything you want to add? Anything you want to plug? What's your YouTube channel, sir?
You guys can find me on ZRUS Outdoors channel. And hey, roll call, get me in that little chat there you got someday.
Yeah, I got you, man. Just send me. I'll give you my email after the show, and we will get it rolling, buddy.
Right on. Yep, that's it.
Squib, anything you'd like to add, sir?
Tonight, probably around midnight, Edge of the Week with Edge 4006 and Hawaii Volcano Squad. Tomorrow morning, 9 Eastern, 9 a.m. Eastern, Caliber Corner, Travis P11 show. And then Monday night, about 11 p.m. Eastern, Lock and Load. That's Hawaii Volcano Squad show. And hopefully we'll be able to get Patrick and Jared and Dusty One on the show as well.
And finally, I'm just going to plug again every weeknight. Yeah, I wish I could had the time to do that. Every Friday night, 7 p.m. Come on back here to Budget Guides and Gear Reviews for the right of the people, where we use the first to defend the second. Usually runs from 7 to 8 because I know Night Strike has a show going on probably right about now. So everybody, I would encourage you to go check him out. I know Leroy Thurman out in the YouTube side said he loves a good chat and guns. And well, I would highly encourage you to go on over to gunchannels.com, sign up. It's free, doesn't cost you a dime. And you will find talk about guns and plenty of chats. There's something going on every night of the week. You should be able to entertain yourself and become part of our community with a quickness over there. Hopefully next week. Oh yeah, here's an update. I know that those of you who were listening last week heard me mention that there might be some drop off in my weekly chats here because of my work schedule. There's only going to be one that I'm going to miss. And that is, let me pull my schedule up here right quick. Because I'm going to have to work some afternoon shifts. and there's only going to be one that I'm going to work on a Friday, and that is Friday the 11th. I will not be able to do a chat that day because I will be at work, and they would frown upon that if I hosted a live stream from there. But other than that, there should be no disruption to the schedule. As always, make sure that you let your elected Congress critters know what you think. They should always be on your speed dial. They should know your name. Constantly keep in contact with them. Telephone, telegraph, carrier pigeon, smoke screens, signals from a mirror flash in the sun. It doesn't matter. Let them know who you are and what you think. Never, ever, ever give up the fight, and we'll see you next week.